Hello again. Welcome back. I'd like to
Well,
say we're happy to see you, but we hope you're happy to see us.
we are we are happy to be here
Happy to be
together
here.
to continue the teachings of PB.
So we're following PB on his journey in India and hopefully learning some important lessons from his experiences. We told about Yogi Brahma, the Hatha yogi he met. But Grant, didn't you say something in the last YouTube about PB's dress?
Yes, in the last video, I asked Mikael about his dressing. For those who saw pictures of PB with Ramana, do you see PB like he has?
A tie and a jacket
Yes,
in the sweltering Indian heat.
in the Indian.
So it's like,
Why that, Mikael?
so it's like, why would you want to dress that way when you're in India? So first, let's read something PB said in the notebooks. He said, those Westerners who tried to ape Indians, and not only Indians, but the ancient Indians at that, by adopting their dress, clothes, beliefs, and general way of life, are putting themselves in a somewhat ridiculous position, if not a false one. We may give admiration and sympathy to Indian ideas and ideals up to a certain point, but we need not do it by throwing away completely our Western heritage, which also has its substantial value. We need not let them prevent us from giving an adequate appreciation to the offerings of our own culture. So there's a very important theme of PB, which is we need to value Western esoteric teachings, Western knowledge, Western way of life. And PB is himself, which means he's dressed in a tie and jacket. But we also want to say he's not actually sweltering because he's very practical. He chooses white. He wears white, which reflects the sun. He doesn't wear a black suit. He wears a white suit. He wears very light fabrics like linen. So his pants and his jacket are actually cooling him. He wears one of those jungle hats that, the explorers wear, and he wears a short sleeve shirt.
Yeah, but also we have to remember that PB always said, well, in this time he wasn't illuminated, but he always said that we keep your individuality, even when we become one day the sage, the illuminated, we have our own individuality. And not only the clothing, he kept, his culture style, but also he used to have tea, as
tea every day.
Every day, as as in England.
He had his English habits. I remember the first time my parents met my teacher, Anthony, the student at BB. Anthony was just like a normal person. And my mother said, oh, but I was expecting him to wear these white flowing robes. So PB's clear. We can be what we are.
We don't have to, but we could dressing also.
Right. So who does PB meet next?
Now PB are going to meet some sage, named like the sage that never speaks.
Right, the sage who never speaks.
Never speaks.
If you read
how he met the sage.
So if you read like the Yoga Sutras, which is the advanced yoga text, it talks about different kinds of samadhi. And there's some very, very advanced states of samadhi where the yogi stays in a trance for hours and hours and hours. So PB finds out about someone who's doing this, who's very isolated in a hut. The door is locked. No one can see him. And PB, as Gran points out, persistent.
Again.
He bribes the guard and he goes in. And he tries to take pictures. And then the next day he finds out his pictures didn't come out. So PB goes again and he's sitting with the sage, and eventually
he went with some local person.
There's some local person. Eventually the sage comes out of his trance and he doesn't speak. He writes a note to PB. He writes to PB. He
But
admonishes PB.
But he say, was you who tried to take
my
a picture?
He says, when you go again to yogis who are in a deep trance, never disturb them by such actions. Do not attempt to break in abruptly upon their meditations. In my own case, it did not matter. He's saying, my stage is so advanced that it, like, I knew you were doing it, but it didn't bother me. But I tell you this to guide your future actions when you try to see other yogis.
Yeah.
Such interruption may be dangerous to them, and they might put a curse on you. So PB's still making mistakes, right? And PB's still learning. And he says to the guy, he says, you tried to take a picture of me, but it won't work.
Yeah. And the PB, he accepted PB, correct? PB came back
once again.
Once again,
PB is rude and inappropriate, and the yogis are happy.
Yeah.
So he gazes over PB's head into seeming space. This is when they're saying goodbye. A minute later, he pencils a reply and pushes the pad towards me. Now, PB doesn't tell you, but it's not in English, so PB always has someone with him who can interpret. So what does it say? I am very pleased because you came here, even though you misbehaved so much.
Yeah, because before, PB asked so many questions for him. And he was pleased again because he saw how PB were so sincerely interested in the path, in the path of realization.
Right, it's not just curiosity.
Yes, and that is why again this sage put attention in PB and accepted, for his second visit.
So he said. So they're saying goodbye, and the sage who never speaks writes, I am very pleased because you came here. Take this as my initiation. And PB says, I hardly finished taking in the purport of this answer when suddenly I feel a strange force entering my body. It pours through my spinal column and stiffens the neck and draws up the head. The power of will seems raised to a superlative degree. I become conscious of a dynamic urge to conquer myself and make the body obey the will to realize one's deepest ideals. PB doesn't use the word kundalini, but the sage who never speaks gives PB a kundalini experience. And so that's another chapter in the book. So they say goodbye and PB continues on. And as always, all these disciples come along bugging PB saying, you have to meet my master. My master is like the greatest big deal. So one of these is a disciple of Ramana.
Yeah, but PB, because was,
skeptical of all these over-enthusiastic devotees.
He didn't put attention.
He says, no thanks.
Yeah, no thanks.
I'm not interested.
And he continued, correct?
But then PB has doubts. He writes, a queer instinct warns me that there may be some basis for the yogi's ardent insistence on the distinctive claims of his master. I cannot keep off a sense of self-disappointment. So PB has an intuition that he made a mistake, and he goes, I blew it. Maybe I should have really met this guy.
And what happened?
It seems that PB has missed his chance. But as fate would have it, he ends up getting to see Ramana. Why? Because he meets another disciple of another master,